So my father-in-law, Abi Malan, was a Springbok captain in 4 of his 18 test matches. He made his debut for the Springboks in 1958 against France, and then went on to captain the Springboks, and 3 of those 4 tests were against the Australian touring side in 1963. So in June 2013, the 63 Springbok team had a reunion, and they invited some of the Wallabies over from Australia, and I think 10 of the Wallabies came over, and they had an amazing, from the Thursday to the Sunday reunion, which included the test match on the Saturday at Newlands. My father-in-law asked me to take him on Thursday evening to the function at Newlands, which I gladly did. I still remember he phoned me and he said to me, you know, the boys will be wearing their Springbok blazers and ties, so if you don't mind, please wear a tie and a jacket. Which showed a little bit of the pride that they had back in the amateur days when the Springboks got together. Interesting as well, when they got together, I remember my father-in-law saying to me, "Who's that guy there standing in the corner?" I said, "Dad, I don't know, he's wearing a Springbok blazer, he's got to be one of your teammates." Which for me was a sign that these guys, even though they played test rugby together, they never saw each other again. It was the days before social media, and where it was so easy to get a hold of each other and spend time together. Nonetheless, some of the legends were at the function on the Thursday evening. Manikis Roo, John Gainsford, Hannes Murray, and it was just awesome. You know, Dave Stewart was there. Awesome to see these guys get together and just reminisce about the past. I remember them walking out of the tunnel on Newlands, and some of the guys actually sort of asked me to support them because they were scared they'd slip and they'd fall, which to me showed me how brittle these guys were 50 years later after playing. You know, they were invincible, and in fact the Australian team was called the Invincibles when they came over. Just an amazing time to, you know, to sit and listen to the stories, listen to the guys talk. On the Friday, my father-in-law phoned me and he said to me, hey, geez, these Aussies brought some ties and they brought some pins, and we don't have anything to give them, can't you help? And I said, well, the photo that I took on Thursday evening, why don't we put it on a label and put it on wine bottles? He said, well, there's not enough time. I said, don't worry, we'll do it. Which I managed to do, and on the Saturday I was actually called in by some of the players when they handed over the bottles, and it was just amazing to spend time with these guys. I went on to the test, photographed the test, but something interesting came out of that. My brother-in-law collected my father-in-law's rugby jumpers, and the only jumper he didn't have was the 1963 Springbok rugby jersey, which was a very interesting badge. Only 6 test matches played where the Springbok actually jumped with his feet together and the rugby ball just below the feet, so it was a very difficult jumper to get a hold of. David then wrote emails to all the guys who attended the reunion, and one guy came back, and I remember Jim Miller, my father-in-law, actually spoke to him, and there's a very famous photo of my father-in-law tackling him and grabbing him by the scrum cap. And at Newlands, when they were talking, when Jim walked up to my father-in-law and he said to him, Abe, I remember you trying to rip my scrum cap off. And my father-in-law still said to him, I should have ripped your ears off. And I said to him, Dad, you know, the test match is over, just chill, relax. But Jim Miller wrote back to David and said, I've got your dad's jumper, it belongs with you. And he sent it back a year later with Ben Robinson, the Wallaby prop, brought it over, and myself and David went into Cape Town. We met them at their training ground, and then back to the hotel where Ben actually handed over the jumper. And just listen to this voice clip when David phoned his father on the farm, and he actually didn't want to speak English, he wanted to speak Afrikaans. But have a listen to this clip.
Hallo pa, hoe gaan dit? Ons is hier by die Cullinan Hotel. I'm going to talk English now. There's a few journalists here with Ben Robinson and Stephen Nell of Die Burger, and a journalist from Sydney Morning Herald in Australia. What's your views, Dad, on the jersey that you have to talk English? These guys are English. So what's your views on the jersey that was shipped to South Africa?
Hey B, it's Ben Robinson. Can you hear me? Hey B, it's Ben Robinson. Hey mate, I've got a special jersey here. Very special jersey of yours.
Yeah, that's fine. I'd like to have it back in South Africa.
Yeah, it's very good to have it back. It's not that dirty. I don't know if you didn't hit the ground that much, but it's a beautiful jersey.
Yeah, you must charge him a lot of money for it.
That was so special, you know. David had some knives made with the badges on the knives, which he sent back to Jim Miller. And the one thing that stood out for me, you know, the burger wrote about it. It was on the lamppost afterwards. It was just amazing. But the thing that stood out for me was the fact that Jim Miller didn't ask for a cent. He sent the jumper back and he said, "David, this jumper belongs with your dad. I'm sending it back." A few years later, I got an email from one of the Wallabies who attended the tour, was on the tour, Mike Jenkinson, and Mike actually wrote a book which he sent over to me. He asked for some pictures which I gave to him, but this is the book, A Dangerous Breed, and just an incredible story to read the perspective from the Wallaby side. Fantastic book. I was happy to have 2 of my pictures included that I took on that evening at the reunion. And then in the book, Mike mentioned that, you know, John Gainsford gave them wine bottles with wine labels that he had printed, and I said to Mike in one of my emails that I actually took that picture and I made the labels. So when they went into reprint and they reprinted the book, he actually included a picture of me with the wine bottle, and he corrected it in the book and he said that I made the labels. So for me, you know, photography again came to the fore, gave me great memories, great opportunities. And can you believe it? In this book, there's actually a picture of myself, a picture of my father-in-law, and a picture of my brother-in-law. So not bad for someone who played for his school's 5th team rugby, and I'm now in a book with these Wallaby and Springbok greats. But this shows you what photography can do. Cheers.